Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution episode where we at 534. What's up, Victor, Ed, Jenny? It is cold. I've got 25 here. Snow is still on the ground. We're supposed to get even more tomorrow. Is this real? This has got to be an April Fool's joke. Snow on the ground, more coming. Say it isn't so. Abraham is with us. What's up, Abraham? Made it back to Wisconsin in all this snow last night. Got to the house to myself, so I'm sorting. Got the house to myself, so I'm sorting cards. Very cool. Abraham was on in Austin while last week. So welcome back to Wisconsin in this lovely weather. So yeah, I looked out the window. The snow. Yesterday wasn't a nightmare. It actually did snow yesterday, and there's more in the forecast. Make it stop. I miss that warm weather. So today I just want to talk some random talk. WWE Prism Preview. I haven't really tweeted much about it or talked about it much, but I am excited. I'm super stoked about the Prizm product. It's probably out of my price range, although I am feeling FOMO, and it's a really expensive hobby box, and I'm almost thinking about pulling the trigger on at least one hobby box. But the price tag is steep. Hobby boxes are going to run you $900 to $1,000 for a hobby box. 2 autographs per box, but I think that's going to be like the floor on this product. So I'll talk about that. And also, I was going through the box of cards that I think I showed off last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago, whenever it was, the day after the Madison Card Show. It was the traffic was a little slower at the March show. I did lose like 6-7 vendors because they were at the Chicago Sports Spectacular that weekend. So a little slower traffic, less vendors, but that means it was a good buying time for me. So I was able to, even though I wasn't planning on it, because a few days later I left for spring training, but I did pick up some good buys, and they turned out to be even better than I expected. So I want to talk about that. Dan is with us. What's up? Uploaded a video of the box I received from the U.S. today. Very cool. What's up, Diego? Victor, yes, and I think the Dutch auction on the Panini website for first off the line began at 2,000, and the floor was 750. So and I'm pretty sure, and I don't know when that Dutch auction, if it ran yesterday or when it's running, but I wouldn't be surprised if the first off the line boxes were in excess of 1,500, where they sell out at like 1,750 or something like that. So it's an extremely expensive product, and yeah, like Straight Execution says, it's going to be pretty limited because Panini already lost the license. Now they have a contract, so they will continue producing WWE products, and I don't know when that contract expires, but as soon as it does expire, they're already locked in with an agreement with Fanatics. And this Panini license just began 3 months ago on January 1st. I guess it's been 4 months, or no, it's 3 months. We're 3 months into the year, 3 full months into the year, starting month 4. So yeah, so the license, when it expires, Fanatics will acquire the license for WWE, despite Panini haven't even released a product yet, and they've already essentially lost the wrestling card license. And I don't know if it's a 3-year contract or how long. So the Prizm product is going to be fairly limited to a couple or a few years when they make it. Maybe it's 5 years. I don't know the contract, but Cooter says, how many tons of Goodwill cards could you buy for the same amount as a hobby box? Through Goodwill, I could buy. So say a hobby box of Prizm was $1,000. I could buy 1,000 pounds. I could buy about 1,000 pounds of cards through Goodwill. It would basically be 2 of those pallets, because I was paying the first pallet. I paid, I think, 420, and the second pallet was 450. So with some I could buy 2 pallets and then have enough left over to buy a blaster or 2 blaster boxes at Target on the way home. Let's see, if Panini won't have the license for long, do you have fear that they will overprint? At this stage, no. Eventually, maybe. I don't know. I mean, the issue is it's hard to print right now. I don't think many products are being overprinted because they can't. Or if they do, it's going to set back. It's only hurting their future products because there's such a limited capacity for card printers right now. They don't have printing presses in their own facilities. It's all third party printing companies, and basically, I think it's something like 90% of all the cards are printed through 2 companies, both located in Dallas. It's an obscene number. So it's right now with the limitations, it's hard to overprint products. So I don't see that being an issue. Herman says, good morning. Got caught up watching Dan's video. Very cool. Jenny's with us. It's funny wrestling. It's funny wrestling is so expensive. 3 years ago, it was on clearance at Walmart. No one bought it. Well, here's the thing. Some wrestling is still not wanted. I can go to Walmart or Target right now, and there's wrestling card on the shelves. There's still WWE. When WWE Heritage was released, because it's been a couple years, I think it's been 3 years since the last Heritage product. I was stoked because I love the Heritage product in general, and I was scooping it up. But now it's been out for 5, 6, 7 weeks, and it's still on the shelf. There was restocks and people got what they wanted on release week or the second week, and then it just sat. Same with Tops, and I think Chrome has gone pretty fast. That's still a highly sought after product, but WWE Tops, base Tops, and Tops Heritage, you can still pretty much find on store shelves, at least in my local stores. You can. But on the other hand, Prizm is going to go. There's going to be lines. It's going to be similar to any other Prizm, basketball, football, and like AEW Upper Deck, where it was limited. And that goes again with printing. They just in one of the Upper Deck, one of the podcasts I listened to, one of the Upper Deck people said, we didn't print enough to meet demand. And I think Prizm's probably going to be the same because there's going to be so much. There's even more demand for the Prizm WWE product than there was for AEW. I mean, you have the WWE name. It's well established. You've got a nice checklist, which I'm going to go into with legends on the checklist. Where AEW Upper Deck, there's some legends that are with AEW and with name recognition like Sting, Matt Hardy, and the like. But a lot of guys in AEW, they're young, up and coming talent. MJF, Orange Cassidy, the Young Bucks, wrestlers like that. And AEW has only been around for 3 years now, 4 years. So it just doesn't have that name appeal that WWE has. And when you add Prizm to it, it's going to be very highly sought after. It already is. Let's see. Where are we at? Zach, what's up? Good morning to you. Zach, I don't know if you have video, if you can catch up on video, because I'm going to show off a card that you'll like, that I found in the box that I was teasing some of the cards that I pulled out of this box from the card show a few weeks ago. Let's see, that 70s card show. What's happening, John? A pallet is now a unit of measure in the industry. Absolutely. And there's a price per pound. There's a price per pound on, I think, what was the breakdown? I think it's like 90 cents. The Goodwill price per pound on trading cards is like 85 or 90 cents per pound. Panini doesn't have many future products. Yeah, that's true. They've lost. Although the basketball and football licenses go through like 2026, so there's still time. There's still like 3 or 4 years that Panini has quite a few products to print. Fall Creek, good morning to you. I don't understand Panini's pricing structure. It seems like a money grab for basketball and football. Well, and now WWE wrestling. The thing is, people pay. And until people stop paying those prices, they're going to stay inflated. What's up, Justin? Good morning to you. Let's see. DR is with us. What's up, DR? Coffee better today? Yes, it is. It's funny you ask, because yesterday it took like 20 minutes to barely fill my cup, this small cup. It's tasty. Today, this morning, the same amount of time, it brewed the whole pot. And I didn't do anything differently. Maybe it was on like sleep mode or something. It was tired. It had a case of the Mondays after not being used for over a week. But yeah, my coffee brewed in like 20 minutes, much faster than yesterday, like 5 times as fast as yesterday. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't do anything different, although I did clean out is it the carafe where you put the filter? And it had some of my coffee filters are smaller than the carafe or whatever that is. So it had like some coffee in there. So maybe there was like coffee obstruction, and that's why it was taking longer for the water to go through the maker. I don't know. But yes, thank you for asking. It's much better today. The other thing is they're going to be limited because right after the deal with Panini is done, WWE is going to Fanatics. Yep. Zach says, I will see it. Can't wait. I still have bought Heritage. Wrestling needs to be taken out of the sports card bucket. They're entertainment cards. True. It is a sport. It's a type of sport. And I know Vince McMahon has coined the sports entertainment term. But I consider wrestling. So I consider 3 main sports cards, and those being football, baseball, basketball. Those are the 3 sports cards. Then you have hockey, and then soccer, which is growing. Remember, Bo, I have inside experience in that genre. And then you have, golf, NASCAR. I consider NASCAR a sport. I consider anything like that, in the sports realm, where it's not exactly football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, but it's still a sport. I mean, you consider like fishing and hunting a sport. So anyway, let's see. Now have your coffee maker have a talk with your internet about speed. There you go. Scripted entertainment. I get it, but it's while the results and the outcomes are scripted, the actual action is real. And that's a sport in itself. To pull off those maneuvers and those moves, like, that's sport. And there's real wrestling involved. Mat wrestling is involved. Maneuvers are real. It's just the outcomes that are scripted. It's the Kardashians and Speedos. John, I have a feeling that you're not a wrestling fan. Zach says wrestling is an athletic soap opera, incredible athletes, but not a sport. I heard Panini signed WWE trading cards for 5-year deals. Okay, so it's 5-year, so that about lines up with when so basically in 2026 and 2027, Panini's going to have nothing. I don't know what's left besides what other licenses they have outside of football, basketball, and WWE at this point in time. John makes a good counter. It takes athleticism to make Mission Impossible and Bourne Identity. I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I consider wrestling cards a sports trading card, and I can see both sides of the argument. I can see both. I can understand where you're coming from. I understand your point. It's not a hill that I would die on. I would probably lose a debate on sports trading cards. WWE sport. Low roller Panini can go after college sports, XFL. Yeah, and Panini does have the NCAA license. I forgot about that. So Panini has the NCAA license, and Panini has like Team USA, which, by the way, I was surprised, and this is kind of off on a side. Speaking of Panini in the college license, the NCAA, you also have NIL that they can use college athletes, which is different than the NCAA license. Which there must be something in and I know there's language within the NIL that athletes cannot be used in their college uniforms on those NIL contracts. But I was wondering at the time, and I should have asked, I have several people that I know that work within college athletics, and some actually that work within the rules. I can't think of the official title, but anyway, the regulations and all those. But I thought maybe since Panini had the NCAA license, they can use the actual uniforms, that could in turn mean they could use, if they have an athlete, say, since I'm here in Wisconsin, Johnny Davis, who just declared for the NBA draft, that they could use Johnny Davis. Since they have the NCAA license, they can use Wisconsin Badgers, the uniforms and all that. Could they use Johnny Davis in a Wisconsin? And I think somebody brought it up like on Hobby Hotline in the chat, where they could have like Panini instant cards of the NCAA tournament, where if they have, X player that's in the tournament, they could make like a Panini instant card in uniform. That has not happened. I assume it's within the NIL contract and how the NIL is regulated, that they cannot be used no matter if you have the NCAA license or not. Athletes cannot be used in college uniforms under the NIL contract. So that's what I assume, which is kind of off on a tangent there. Let's see. Zach says sport is a competition where the outcome is not predetermined. Incredible athletes, amazing theatrics, beautiful people, not a sport. Okay. I get it. I'm with you. I still consider it a sports trading card. Diego, I'm with you. Thank you. Somebody's on my side. It is a wrestling fan to not see it as a sport. Bo is now on double secret probation for his view on wrestling. I'm a big wrestling fan. I love WWE. Well, I love old WWE. I don't like the new product. I watch on occasion. I love AEW wrestling. But I am a fan. Well, John, it's better than golf. Are we sure some sports events are not predetermined? Good point. There hasn't been a great pro wrestling match since Ventura versus Nolan Ryan. Low Roller says Panini at Upper Deck, Sue Fanatics for antitrust law in USA. Justin, 1985 WWF, the best. That was an awesome set. Hulk Hogan WWF rookie card is in that set. I love that set. Such a cool and an iconic design as well. I think Cyndi Lauper has some cards in there. You had the whole rock and wrestling connection. Wrestling Mania starts tomorrow. Oh, that's right. WrestleMania. It's a 2-day event, which I don't like. I like it being one night. So my fantasy baseball draft is tomorrow night, which I may have to talk. I'm going to have to bore you tomorrow or Sunday with fantasy baseball talk. So just, I know people hate hearing about other people's fantasy baseball teams or football or whatever other fantasy sport they play. Talk about my figures. I would love an Ultimate Warrior tassel card. That would be cool. So my fantasy baseball draft is tomorrow night, which is like it starts about the same time as WrestleMania. So I will probably tune into some on Saturday, and Sunday. It's the thing with WWE now. Monday Night Raw is 3 hours. That's way too long for me. I check in on occasion, but it's boring to me. I don't like the storylines as much. AEW has much better storylines and all that. So I'll tune in, and what I'll probably do in reality is I'll tune in here and there Saturday night and Sunday night to WrestleMania, and then next week I'll probably watch the replay because I have Peacock for that reason, to watch the pay-per-views and WWE stuff. So I'll probably, like, as I'm listing cards or shipping, I'll have WrestleMania on in the background on my computer. And yeah, there is a rumor that Cody Rhodes will appear at WrestleMania this weekend. John says, incidentally, I feel the same about gymnastics and figure skating, sports that are subjectively graded as opposed to straight up competition. That's a fair point. I agree. I'm scanning my Star Trek auto cards I received in my box. Very cool. Love fantasy talk. Okay, I'll have one listener, and I'll have everybody else will tune out. I've been considering going back into figures. Diego's talking about wrestling figures. There's a cool store here in Madison called Meepleton's World of Fun, and it's like a throwback to the 80s. It's a really cool, it's a vintage toy shop. They have vintage non-sports wax packs. I bought like 7 or 8 packs when I went there a few months ago. They have a ton of wrestling figures, a ton. Like, I'm talking dozens, maybe 100 or so. And they're like not in boxes. They're like just somebody's, that somebody had they played with as a kid, and sold them to the store or whatnot. So, WrestleMania, yep, it's on Peacock. Let's see. Bo, you were describing baseball as well. 3 hours, bad storylines. That's true to an extent, yes. I watch Impact Wrestling. That is how much of a wrestling fan. Wow, that's a deep dive. Yes. I do watch some indie stuff every once in a while. If the mood suits me. AEW is like turning like WWE, since AEW signed the majority of wrestlers. Yeah, I don't like how AEW has just signed like every talent that WWE has released. It's like every Wednesday night there's a new wrestler debuting. And what I don't like about that is similar to what TNA did back in the mid 2000, like 2005, 6, 7, that era, where they signed Hulk Hogan, Sting, Ric Flair, all of these huge names, and it just didn't work. It doesn't. You have to have good storylines and good wrestling to make a good product, and that's my concern with AEW, is they're just trying to make all of these splashy moves, and are they going to run out of money and go? I don't think the Khan family. So AEW is owned by the Khan family, the owners of Jacksonville Jaguars football team, and they own a soccer team. Is it Manchester? I don't know. They own one of the big soccer teams, soccer clubs, whatever they call them. So they're billion. I think what's Shad Khan? I think he's a billionaire. So the only way they'll run out of money in AEW is if Shad Khan cuts off his son Tony, who runs AEW. If Shad Khan says, "Hey, you're spending too much money, I'm cutting you off." Other than that, they have deep pockets. Straight execution fantasy baseball, just baseball card projecting. It translates fine, works for me. If wrestling is a sport, then so is marching band. You need good talent in writing to make good soap operas. Absolutely. Easy Tom, you're talking to Methacton High School 84-85 lead trombone. AEW and WWE are working together. They can make wrestling popular again. I don't like it. No, I do not like that low roller. I do not want AEW and WWE to work together. Its competition is better. The wrestling landscape right now has not been this good since the late 90s, when there was true wrestling competition between companies, WCW and WWF/E. So I think the competition is great. I do not want to see, I know that was a dream back in the 90s, like, what if WWF and WCW worked together? How awesome would that be? Well, fast forward a few years, WWF bought WCW. We saw how that worked out, and wrestling kind of sucked for several years, up until there's been a renaissance in professional wrestling here over the last few years, with the surge of indie wrestling, and then that turned into AEW, and now we've got other promotions that are making some noise as well. So I want them all to say, I think, I'm gonna sound like an old codger here, like a Jim Cornette, but man, the territory days, I think The early to mid 80s was kind of the, the peak of professional wrestling. You had a growing WWF that was starting to go nationwide, but you also had major territories. AWA was still, big by the mid 80s. You had the Mid South, Jim Crockett Promotions, the Texas promotion, Memphis was always huge. And then WWF started, poaching AWA, Mid South. And that's, by 85, 86, WWF's accumulating all of this talent from the various promotions, which essentially killed the territories. And then we had, basically just the WWF until WCW really started making some noise with the Hulk Hogan signing. And Bo's wrestling knowledge goes deep. Yeah. So I'm rambling about wrestling now. So Ricketts are trying for the Chelsea Football Club, amazing a team being stripped of its ownership by a government. Fascinating. WWE spoiler is bad today since everyone knows what will happen. I agree. It's not the same. It's not the same. Spoilers are, back in the 90s when I was a diehard. I wanted to work in the wrestling industry when I was in high school. Not as a wrestler, but I wanted to just work behind the scenes. And so I was big and I was buying all the wrestling magazines. I was calling the hotlines, but back in the late 90s, there wasn't there were true hotlines. WWF had a hotline, WCW had a hotline, but there were also like hotlines, and they were basically like, you just call this number. And actually one of them, somebody had hijacked SkyTel, which was like this big voice mailbox. And so you called SkyTel and you just typed in, whatever number, box 708. And so the message on the voicemail box was like a wrestling spoiler hotline. And all of a sudden it spread, and like random people were getting their own hotlines through these SkyTel voicemail boxes. So yeah, I was deep into wrestling in the late 90s. Trust me, you didn't want to work in the industry. As I grew up and learned more of the inner workings, I definitely agree with you. I would not want to work in the wrestling industry. So let's talk Prizm. Let's actually talk cards. The checklist is out. So the release date for WWE Prizm is April 6th, which is what, next Wednesday, I believe. So it looks like first off, the line boxes were yesterday on Panini. Let's see if I can, because I saw a lot of rumblings, and that's why I wanted to talk about it today, because I saw so many people talking about it yesterday. Let's see. Is there a way to recently listed? Okay, looks like I can't see it, at least on that screen. So anyway, so I was surprised as I was going through what I didn't like about WWE, and I was going to be a huge fan of the living set for WWE. And I talked about it extensively here about my dislike for the WWE living set, because the first two cards that came out with a bang, it was Trish Stratus and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, hey, okay, we've got some legends. My hope, because I kind of like the card art stuff, and I like, at one time I liked the baseball living set, and then it just kind of grew cold on me. But like, hey, this is going to be really cool, because I wanted to have, kind of at the time, I wanted to have a secondary collection to my Cubs stuff. So I was looking forward to collecting the living set. So I bought them every week, and it finally got 20 cards in. So 10 weeks in, and Stone Cold and I think the Undertaker and maybe a Hardy was the only legends, and all are, fairly recent. I was hoping it would go back into the 80s and we would see some like true legends. And I wanted more of a mix, like maybe every week have a current wrestler and a legend. But it was like this, the second week, it was Eric and Ivar, the Viking Raiders. Like, you give us Stone Cold and Trish Stratus, and the second week you throw out the freaking Viking Raiders. Like, come on. And I've got those listed on my eBay store for like $5 and they still haven't sold. The print run was like 700 or something. So I gave it 20 cards in. I'm like, if they don't start doing some like true legends that wrestled prior to 2000 or the 90s, I'm done. And by cards 21 and 22, still current wrestlers. So I stopped buying and sold. I think I was able to sell most of them, probably at a loss, but just gave up on it. Toward the end of the contract, they finally, started doing some true legends, and it's like, man, if they would have done this like card 19 and 20, I would probably still be collecting these cards, but they kept throwing out all of these new talents that I didn't want to collect because I don't care for the new product. So I was happy to see the Prizm product. As I started looking through the list by number, it's a 200 card base set. The first Legend's name was Lita, or actually Rikishi, and so Rikishi is fairly recent. Then Lita, and those names don't do it for me because they're within the past 20 years. So then there wasn't many more legends, although I was surprised. Card number 23 is Gable Steveson, who I believe is the reigning NCAA wrestling champion from University of Minnesota. So I'm like, wow, I can't believe they got Gable Steveson, and he's already labeled Raw on the Prizm checklist. So I was pretty excited to see that. Braun Breaker, who was Rick Steiner's son from the Steiner brothers. Braun Breaker is in there on the NXT 2.0 champion. So right there, it's like, okay, this checklist is looking good. Another legend. Actually, he's not listed as a legend because I think he's under WWE contract, whatever their contract status is. Goldberg, who I don't like. John Cena, again, fairly recent. So the legends, Shane McMahon is listed as a legend. So it's like, okay, Beth Phoenix, and she still does some stuff on TV programs. So it's like, okay, the legends are still fairly recent. Then Eddie Guerrero, which is like, okay, still fairly recent, but that's pretty cool. The Great Khali, again, recent legends. Jerry Lawler. It's been a while since he's wrestled, but he's still on commentary quite a bit recently. And finally, we get to card number 93, an actual like true legend going back prior to 2000. The Ultimate Warrior is on the checklist at card number 93. So that gave me some hope. Then you get to the back half of the checklist, and all of a sudden now you start seeing some better legend names. Kevin Nash is on the checklist, again, kind of a fairly recent name. But as you go down, let's see, where are the legends? There was kind of a glut of them toward the end of the checklist. Card number 159, a true legend going way back. And this is what, it's like these card companies only, think like WWE dates back to 1998 with the names that they put on their cards. Bruno San Martino. We haven't got too many Bruno San Martino cards. I know Topps had him in Heritage a few years back, but Bruno is in this Prizm product. China's on the checklist. Let's see. Dusty Rhodes. So this kind of gives you a clue. Like, I don't think if Cody Rhodes was still in AEW, would they put Dusty Rhodes in a WWE product? Probably not. So I think that kind of gives you a sign that, okay, Cody's probably going to be coming into WWE. So I thought that was cool. Dusty Rhodes in the checklist. The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Triple H, Hulk Hogan, Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels, Andre the Giant, card number 200. So the last like 10 cards, there you've got some legends. So while it is pretty heavy over the last 20 years, the checklist, I was pretty happy to see some of those names. The current names like Braun Breaker and Gable Steveson, but also the classics like Bruno, Hogan, Warrior. So I was pretty happy with the checklist. For a 200 card checklist, I think that's a pretty solid wrestling checklist for WWE. Dan called some hotlines, but it wasn't for wrestling. Panini can sign the Wrestling New Japan cards. Who makes that call, the card maker or the wrestling headquarter? That's a great question. I think it's probably got to be a collaboration. I would assume, we all know what assuming does, but I would assume there's some type of collaboration between somebody within WWE and in Panini or Topps, whoever is making the call for the checklist. There's got to be like, okay, here's, I don't know. I'm sure it starts with the card, like in this case, Panini. I'm sure somebody at Panini, whoever puts the checklist together, has like a rough draft and says, okay, here's what we want. I'm sure WWE says, okay, we want these names. So make sure these names, they have to be in the product. So I'm sure there's probably, this is just all me theorizing. Here's the names that have to be in the product. Panini puts a checklist together, includes the names that WWE wants. I'm sure there's like a don't use list, like don't use these names. And then they give it to WWE. They say, no, we don't want him and him. Oh, add him. I'm sure it goes back and forth a few times. That's just me. That's my opinion on a theory on how it works. I would assume both companies have there's probably some collaboration with the checklist. Is that Kurt Angle's son? I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I don't quote me on that. Regarding who makes the set. Come on, Bo. How can you not like Goldberg? You're a Georgia guy. I hate Goldberg. He's like my least favorite wrestler of all time because he's not a wrestler. He's just this big oaf that does a spear, and that's it. I hate Goldberg. My least favorite wrestler. Goldberg. Okay, here's my distaste for Bill Goldberg. I look at Bill Goldberg in wrestling as I look at Yadier Molina in baseball. Goldberg is my Yadier Molina of wrestling. I hate Goldberg. Steveson guy named it's Kurt Angle's son. Nash, now there's a wrestler to dislike. And see, Kevin Nash, I'm like, okay on Nash, like, yeah, it's okay. Like, yeah, he's not really a wrestler. He's just a big oaf too. Yeah, Goldberg, don't like Goldberg. Do you think these WWE Prizm cards end up in dollar bins by the end of 2022? Great question. Absolutely not. So the hobby boxes right now are selling for between $900 and $1,000. I bet you by the end of 2022, you won't be able to find a hobby box under $2,000. And this is why I want to buy a hobby box even at $1,000, because I think these cards, especially off the bat, maybe by the end of 2022, some of the commons, they'll be in dollar boxes. But I think some of these cards are going to be really expensive. I think we'll see $20 base cards on a lot of these. I mean, when you consider what's, how many's in a box. I think I've got it on, see the box specifics down here. So each hobby box has 2 autographs. Doesn't list. Okay. Let's type it in. I just want to see how many cards are in a box. You might find some commons in hobby boxes or in dollar boxes, but I think the base cards are going to be. I think it's going to be well worth it. So there's going to be 144 cards per box. So you better be selling some of the base cards for $20, because what's that come out to? Say you're paying, I think it's $950 on Steel City. Say I pay $950 at Steel City divided by 144. You're paying $6.60 per card. So you might find I'll tell you what, if you find WWE Prizm cards at the end of 2022 in a dollar box, buy every single one you can, because I think they're going to be well worth it, because I think hobby boxes will be $2,000. Now, yes, people will be buying the hobby boxes. The hobby boxes will be worth more than what the contents are inside. That's just how sealed wax goes. The market on sealed wax is that way. But yeah, you're gonna, you know, you're gonna see expensive base cards only because that's the cost. Retail, good luck finding retail. I'm basically counting myself out on getting lucky enough to find it because I'm not going to chase down the vendor or wait in line at Target or Walmart to get this product. Although I want to, but I'm just not going to spend my time doing that. So yes, so I think I'm bullish. I guess I think Brian Gray even said that yesterday on Twitter that he's very bullish on WWE Prizm. First year Prizm on all sports, very popular. And I think this is going to be a raging success for Prizm. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm right. So there's a part of FOMO that's getting to me, like, do I really want to pay $6.60 per card? But I think the autographs alone, especially if you pull, like, let's look at the autograph checklist, and then there's parallels as well, and of course you're going to have colors. So we've got an impressive autograph checklist. So champion signatures set, which come in a variety of parallels as well. You've got Stone Cold Steve Austin, Roman Reigns, The Undertaker, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Triple H, Hulk Hogan. Just imagine what a Hulk Hogan Prizm auto, first year Prizm auto. Let's see, same. You've got iconic rivals, dual autos. Just an example: Stone Cold and Bret Hart dual auto, Mick Foley and Triple H dual auto, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels dual auto. Legendary signatures checklist includes Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, the Iron Sheik, Kane, Kevin Nash, Sergeant Slaughter, Bret Hart, Jerry Lawler, Foley. So there's and then you've got, just from the base auto checklist, some of the NXT people. My look, I'd pull like a LA Knight and Apollo Crews autographs. So it's just it's in a very, very impressive checklist. So the hobby boxes will the prices on hobby boxes will far outweigh like the base commons, just because you have the potential of pulling some real fire in these boxes. McMahon is amazing how he looked in all these character rights from the very earliest days. Vince McMahon, it's amazing how he just doesn't age. And I go back, he started announcing in like the early 70s. Like I was watching an old WWW back when they had 3 W's, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation videos on YouTube from like 1973, and Vince McMahon is on commentary. It's like, man, this he's he who's the fountain of youth? Ponce de Leon. He's the fountain of youth. Chris Benoit included on WWE wrestling cards. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Wearing my Goldberg shirt on the plane. There you go. It's the first edition of Panini. Just noticed the hoodie. Yep, I'm wearing the Korean cardboard hoodie. Hoodie Friday. Let's see. I had to log off for a bit. Did I miss the cards being shown off, or are you doing those still? Oh no, I haven't even shown those off yet. So that's my take on WWE Prizm. I'm super high on WWE Prizm. So before I left for spring training, I had the Madison Card Show on March 19th, and slower traffic, which is a good buying time for dealers. And I picked up some good deals. One of which was a fellow dealer. Usually I get bulk from him, but he had and this is the guy who had 20 boxes of like junk wax football, and it's like, he goes, I've got a great deal for you. And he started at like, I don't know, 450 or 350 bucks. He had one box, and it was maybe a couple hundred cards in it, highlighted by a bunch of short print Cody Bellinger and Aaron Judge rookie cards, like a stack of them. And I'm like, okay, this is enticing. He goes, but there's a caveat. You have to buy to get this box. You have to take all of these. So all 20 of the monster boxes of junk wax football. And I'm like, okay, let me see what's in here. Because usually he brings some decent stuff, and I've pulled some nice stuff out of his boxes, and it's like all 90s football. It's like, man, I look through some boxes. It's all football, which I don't do. Like, I don't really care about football cards. Like, I have cards. I sell football cards, but like, I don't want to I don't want 100,000 football cards of 90s stuff that just doesn't appeal to me. If it was baseball, I probably would have said, yeah, I'll do that just because I like baseball. I wanted to do it just for the boxes alone. And I even considered by the end of the show just dumping the cards in the trash bin outside of the hotel and taking the empty boxes because I could have used the boxes. One of the other dealers, the last dealer to leave, took him. He owns a card shop in Baraboo. And he's like, well, I'm going to open up another room in my building for people to dig through boxes. So he goes, this is good inventory. So eventually he goes, okay, I'll drop it to 250, but you still have to take these boxes. And I'm like, dude, I don't want these boxes. He's like, all right, well, will you take this box for 250? And I flipped through, and I'd already comped like the Bellinger and Judge. And I'm like, and the rest of the stuff I thought was just because a lot of it was like 90s era stuff. And there was some like recent Prizm football rookies. There were some color rookies, but like lower end stuff that probably is in a $1 box. But it's the off season, so maybe I'll just hold it for a rainy day. So I'm like, I'll do 200. So he's like, deal, $200. So I sold the Aaron Judge. I had like 7 Aaron Judge of one variation, and I think I sold every one of them for $35 a piece. What's 35 times 7? I can't. That's over $200. So made my money back on those. I still have the Bellinger. Well, he is really sucking at spring training. It's really bad when people are talking about how bad you're performing at spring training. That means you're not performing well. Bellinger's off to a really bad spring training. So fortunately, the regular season is just a few days away, so we can erase that bad juju. So I'm like, okay, hey, I'm already in the green, selling off the Judge. I have the Bellinger, so maybe if he heats up, these will sell. So I start digging through, and there was some random like 90s serial numbered stuff, like I don't know, was on that. Miguel Cabrera. I'm going to put him in a new sleeve. So this Miguel Cabrera is numbered to 50. So I put this in my eBay store at $20. It has like 10 watchers. I think it's listed for 25, and I've sent some $20 offers. There was some other like low serial numbered 90s baseball cards listed for like between 10, $20. For Zach, there was a Walter. This is just a cool card. Like, I want to keep this in my collection. Walter Payton, NFL Legends from 2000, and this is numbered to 2500, which serial numbered Walter Payton sell for decent. So I think I listed this for 10 or 20 in my eBay store. Then there were some like Barry Sanders and Emmett Smith cards, like $5, $10 cards. I'm like, wow, this is there's some good stuff in here. Then there was this Pinnacle Zenith Z Team Emmett Smith, and a lot of this stuff I was going to put in my quarter boxes, but I'm like, I don't know the market on 90s football and inserts. If it looks shiny, I'm going to comp it out, see what they go for. This is like a $50 card. So it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. But the key, and as I was flipping through these cards, I looked at this and I'm like, wow, this is a really fancy card. Emmett Smith Flair Showcase, nice and shiny. This is from 1998. Then I looked at the back, and it's numbered 250, numbered out of 250. And I'm like, this is probably a $20 card. So I looked up, there's only one on eBay, and it's listed for like $2,000. But unfortunately, there's one that's that recently sold. One sold for like 210, which is more than I paid for the entire box, and I've already made my money back just selling a few Aaron Judge rookies. So this is listed in my eBay store for $250. Just listed it last night, and I already have like 10 watchers. I've had a message. I've got to respond to somebody who asked about it. So I was pretty happy. Now I have a stack of cards that, as I was going through the box, I just like quarter box, quarter box, quarter box. Now I need to go back through that quarter box before I actually put them in a quarter box. I need to look through them to see, did I miss anything? I better check comps on these because I don't know the market on a lot of this stuff. And so let's see. Let's see. Jenny says you should tell Triple Crown about the Cabrera. I think he's backing up from super PCing, but may be interested. That's a good point. Are you still comping cards with the new app from the other week? Yes, Center Stage, an awesome app. In fact, I did not. I am using it, but I did not use it for this Emmett Smith card. Because I was within the eBay app and as I was listing. So let's just use it. Where I had to delete a lot of my apps last week because I was taking so much video. I was running out of storage. I hope I didn't delete Center Stage. Where's the? I'm pretty sure I didn't. Well, crap. I think I deleted the app. I didn't mean to. I was on an app deleting spree. Because I was in such need for space. I didn't think I deleted that app though. See, I have too many apps. When it takes me this long to find something, I have too many apps on my phone. I still have the app that we used for photo taking. It was like a photo sharing app for our wedding. It's called Veri, Veri. I think our wedding was 5 years ago. I think I can take. We've got all the pictures. I think I can delete that app. It hasn't been used since 2017. Let's see. Well, son of a biscuit, I did delete that app, so I'm gonna have to re-download it. So yeah, I was using it. I'm going to have to download it again. So yeah, Center Stage app, awesome. You just take a picture. Actually, you don't even have to click buttons. You just open the photo app or the photo taking mechanism, and it like sees the card and comps it for you. On some of these, so like on the Miguel Cabrera, because I was using it before I left. I was using it like on these cards, like on these low serial numbered cards. It's not good. So I don't think it's going to work well. I know it didn't work well for this Miguel Cabrera because I had to go in and actually type it in on eBay. Same with the Emmett Smith. I don't know how well it's going to work on something like that. But if it's a 90s Skybox Larry Bird, if it's this Emmett Smith, it's not serial numbered. It's just a Z team insert. It'll probably work. But if it's serial numbered, probably not. Not gonna work well. So today's Friday, Hoodie Friday. Thank you, Dan, Korean Cardboard, for the hoodie. Probably won't make any trips to Target or Walmart today. There's nothing being released that I really want. Next week I'd love to get my hands on some WWE Prizm, but I don't know if retail is going to be released at the same time next week or whatnot. I think there's going to be a lot of people. I mean, I couldn't find AEW Upper Deck here locally, if it was even sold locally. I'm sure it was, but it sold fast. So I probably won't. There's nothing that card wise that's being released that I need to get my hands on. Bought a hobby box before I left of Heritage at the card show, so I'm good there, and I don't need any more Top Series 1. Let's see, card shows. There's an Oak Creek show. My friend Tony runs the Oak Creek show. So that is tomorrow, Oak Creek, Wisconsin. I think he has 110 tables there. Always a good show. I will not be making any shows this weekend. Still, just getting caught up from the trip and shipping and listing. I listed about 70 cards yesterday in my eBay store. Hoping to get some more listed this weekend. I did publish the video of my autographs, so that is on my YouTube channel. I published that last night. 235 autographs. I finished up with 30 baseballs and 205 autographed cards. So that was my haul from spring training. So that video, you can see all of the cards, all of the baseballs on my YouTube channel. That video published last night. Bloomington, Minnesota card show tomorrow. Very cool. Oak Creek, Wisconsin is tomorrow. Next Saturday, I will be set up back at a card show next Saturday, April 9th in Rockford, Illinois, at the Rock Church on Harrison Avenue for the Northern Illinois Card Show. So that's next Saturday. I'll have my bargain boxes, my quarter boxes, and dollar boxes there. I will not have my bargain boxes, though, in Madison, April 30th. It's a monster. It's the Madison Monster Card Show. Biggest show to date, 120 tables. We've got guests coming in like Jenny Miller and Herman from Georgia. Hopefully, John can make the trip from Pennsylvania. It's going to be a big show. One of my favorite vintage / pre-war vendors will be set up. Tony, who I just mentioned from Oak Creek, he'll have all his vintage. Herman's going to go diving through his binders, his vintage binders. He's got great stuff, and just a whole bunch of great stuff. A couple first-time vendor card artist is going to be there. So a little bit of everything. So we've got supplies, vintage and pre-war, ultra-modern slabs, sealed wax, Pokemon, a little bit of everything. So that's April 30th, Saturday, April 30th, Madison Card Show, Sheraton Hotel, 120 tables. It's so big that we had to spill out into a second floor. So looking forward to that. And Mark Hoyle, what's up? Good morning to Mark. So that's what's upcoming. So I will go live tomorrow and Sunday. Times will vary tomorrow and Sunday. Weekend times, I'll probably sleep in my internal clock. Mark's working on getting there. That would be so awesome if you could make it. My internal clock is just way off. Spring training all week. I was asleep by like 8:30. I come home, now I can't sleep, and it's like midnight before I fall asleep. So I'm way off. My internal clock is off. So I'll probably sleep in tomorrow. So probably figure 8:30 Central Time tomorrow morning. So that's all I had for today. Thanks for tuning in. I apologize if you're not a wrestling fan. It was wrestling centric today. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you tomorrow. Happy Friday.